Joining me now on the show is UFC welterweight Adam Fugitt, who's going to be facing Yusaka Kinoshita next on February the 4th at UFC Vegas 68. Adam, how are you?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Happy to have you on. Excited to see this fight. We saw Yusaka on Contender Series. He had a round three finish of Jesse Henrique. We'll dive into that matchup here in a little bit. But first, I just wanted to see how your holiday season's been. The New Year's right around the corner, just another day away. How has
Yeah.
it like been being in camp through the holidays?
It hasn't been terrible, man. It's been kind of nice. Having something this far out. It's been a lot of time to prepare, a lot of time to figure out what I want to do and just start putting a bunch of reps towards it. And you know, um, my diet's on point, so I got to enjoy myself, a little bit over Christmas and indulge in some of that good holiday food. So I'm not unhappy at all.
What's the go-to for the holiday food? What do you like to dive into and indulge in?
Oh man, we get a prime rib on Christmas most years, so that was nice. This year I went over to the girlfriend's on Christmas Eve, and we did a seafood bisque, and oh, that was amazing. It was like a pound of shrimp and a pound of crab in this soup, and oh man, it hit really well.
Okay, and you can't have that normally during camp, right? You got to stay away from it.
That's right. Stay away from that stuff.
What is the cut like for you to get to welterweight? How big do you get?
So right now, I'm around 195, and I started the camp around. I blew up to 210 to put on a little bit of muscle, and yeah, now I'm just gradually making my way down, and I hope to be around, I don't know, 185 the week before the fight, and then I'm gonna start my descent from there with like water and cutting out carbs, cutting out sodium, water loading, and then obviously in the last couple of days we'll do the water cut.
Do you feel like you're a pretty big welterweight, average size? Like, how do you feel like you stack up size wise to the rest of the guys in the division?
I thought it was a pretty big welterweight, but I went to the PI and I got some testing done. They tell me I'm pretty average for my size in the welterweight division. So hey, it's all good. It gives me some room to improve. I much rather have those results than go there and be like, oh yeah, you're too big for your division or something. You got no room for growth. So I got a lot of things I can improve on.
They weren't telling you to maybe transition to 55, were they?
No, actually, we did some testing, and I was something I was curious about, and I apparently can't make 55. So
Okay. Well, very good.
we'll see.
170 it is. That's a great weight class to be in. I mean, especially if you're, north of 200 pounds, making that 30-pound cut. I can't imagine that's very, very easy.
Right. No, I got to push myself up that high. I'm definitely indulging in food and lifting. I got to push myself to get up that high. But if I'm just kind of hanging out and doing my just kind of doing my daily regimen, I'm around like 195.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about that UFC debut. It was in July. That was a round three loss to Michael Morales, who's undefeated. You took that on 9 days' notice, man. How difficult was that to take the fight on 9 days' notice and to get in there and prepare for a guy as dangerous as Morales?
It wasn't hard to say. It wasn't hard to say yes. I was kind of prepared. I'd kind of been waiting for a phone call and just staying prepared. That coming off of basically the 2 year layoff and everything, I just fell in love with training every day and keeping up and with my game, and so that's just kind of where I'm at now. I just train every day, and there's no off days really. And now I'm starting to transition more into the studying aspect of the game and watching a lot of film. And so yeah, that it would have been nice to have a little bit more time to watch some film and prepare. But I was ready, and I always told my managers if I get the phone call, there's no way I'm turning it down. So 9 days, screw it, let's go.
How much weight did you have to cut for that fight in 9 days?
I was at around 195. Yes.
Okay, very good. And with making it to the UFC, obviously that's the goal for any mixed martial artist and anyone that turns pro. It seems like that's all that they talk about. There's this thing called octagon jitters before you make your debut. Is that a real thing? Did you feel it?
I you know, I, I'm guessing I just didn't have enough time to prepare for octagon jitters because I didn't really feel them. I felt like, the work had finally amounted to the reward that, I had set out to try to achieve. And, I was very, very comfortable stepping in there. It was a great feeling. I still kind of go back to that moment and remember the thoughts and all the feelings that we're kind of going through. I was going through in that moment. So,
Looking back on the fight, what are some changes you would have made if you had a chance to do it again?
well, I definitely wouldn't have overextended in on that third round. I was definitely reaching for something that wasn't there. I should have stayed a little with inside myself or inside my range, and that's what got me clipped and got me dropped. And looking back on it, um, I think the third round I should have started out a little slower instead of pushing the pace. Still, it was a close fight. And I did feel like I was down the card. I did feel like I needed to push the pace and I needed to win that third round, but I think I should have let it come to me a little bit more. Thus not overextending and not getting clipped. I think we could have, had a different outcome for sure.
I hear a lot of, experts in the MMA world say that they feel like Michael Morales is one of the brightest young prospects that the UFC has on their roster, and you're the only guy to get into the third round with him. Does that does that give you any type of like street cred? Do people like maybe want to respect you a little bit more? Because no one gets to the third round with him except for you.
um, I've seen some stuff around social media now. It's like hashtag fight camp Fugit. They want to see what I can do with a full fight camp. And I want to live up to that hype. I want to go out there and show them like, yeah, give me the time, give me the proper amount of time to prepare for somebody. And I'm dangerous, and I just feel like that any given day, it doesn't matter who it is. I can step in there with the best of them. And not only do I feel like I can hang with anybody, I feel like I'm trouble and I can beat, anybody on any given day. And, all respect to Mike Morales. I'd love to have that fight again, and I'd love to have a full training camp for that fight. So if that ever comes back around, I'll be ready and willing.
Sign me up. I'd love to see that rematch at some point down the line. Tell me a little bit about your camp, your training partners. Who do you have around you for this camp getting ready for Yusaka?
For sure. I've brought in a couple of training partners from the past to help me with the striking a little bit. Then the big names that I'm working with, shout out to my buddy Ray and Jalen for coming down, my buddy Nate as well, if they watch this. But the big names I brought in at least are Lucas Barbosa. He's training for his fight January 27th in the PFL. And Brent Primus, who fights in Bellator, who's supposed to be going into the Bellator light heavyweight or lightweight tournament here coming up. I think it's supposed to be like March or something like that. So both those guys are with me. Um, yeah, and then it's just by committee, bringing in guys, and it's been fun, man. I really enjoyed myself this camp.
The former champ, Brent Primus. There you go. Right. That's a
That's
great
right.
partner to have around you. How many times a day are you putting in work? Are you 2, 3 times a day, or are you starting to maybe dial it down a little bit now? Like what is that normally like for you?
So it's two training sessions, specifically for MMA and stuff. And then I got at least one day of like lifting or conditioning in there too.
All right.
So usually 2 to 3 times, or usually 3 times a day.
Do you have any other hobbies, or are you just MMA full time? I mean, I know this is your job and you're in the biggest promotion in the world, but do you do anything else to kind of occupy your time, or are you just solely focused on mixed martial arts right now?
A lot of my time is taken up with this. I do train people. I have some amateur fighters as well. Through the gym I fight out of Ardvor. I'm an assistant coach there, so I help out with the amateurs. Other than that, I'm a dog dad, and I hang out with my dog. I spend a lot of time with my girlfriend. Shout out to Sophie, and she supports me 100%. And then I do my best to be the best Uncle A that I can be to my nephews and niece. So
Very good. What kind of dog do you have?
I got a boxer.
I've
Yeah.
always wanted to get a boxer. I've heard that I mean, they just have like the best personalities and they're good family dogs. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I've had them. I've had boxers almost all my life now, and they're just the biggest goofballs. They're always lap dogs, and yeah, I just yeah, the energy they bring definitely can pick you up when you're feeling down, and yeah.
When you want to chill, will the dog chill with you, or are they always just really rambunctious?
Oh, this one is he's my spirit animal. He's definitely likes his time to chill, and he just wants to be on, basically laying on top of me when he does it. So it's pretty nice. It's like a weighted blanket.
Okay, I love that. I'm a big football fan. Tom Brady is like my favorite player, so I wanted to get a boxer and name him Brady. I think that's what
there,
I'm going to do at some point down the line.
there you go. That sounds great, man.
Let's talk about this welterweight division. Right now, Leon Edwards is the champion. I haven't seen an announcement yet for his first title defense. Obviously, Kamaru Usman being the longtime champ seems like, I mean, if I was matchmaking, I'd just rematch him immediately. Like, what do you feel like the UFC should do for the next welterweight title shot?
It's a great question for a guy that's thankful not to have to be in that position, right? It would make a lot of sense. Kamar he hung on to that belt for a long time. He deserves his rematch if he wants it right away. That being said, I don't know what his agenda is. If he does have something else, and the UFC wants to make a matchup for Leon, that there's shoot, there's plenty of prospects up there. There's plenty of great fighters up there that deserve a shot. Off the top of my head, who I don't know. You have so many guys up there that you could make that fight with.
Well, let me ask you this because I've heard a lot of rumblings that there might be a Colby Covington Hamzat Shemaev fight made. What do you think of that, and who do you think would win that fight?
Oh man, I Hamzat is you know, he's a he's hard to go against, man. Just the way that he seems to be kind of picking apart people, going through people is just kind of, I don't know. It's different the way that he's going in there. It almost looks like he manhandles people, but the wrestling pedigree from Colby, I think that would help him out tremendously. And uh, um, we saw with him and Kamar, his striking isn't, his striking is I think better than Hamzat's. So it would be interesting to see. Hamzat's got a lot of length though, so you know, maybe that would be more difficult for Colby to deal with in the striking. But I don't know. I feel like that wrestling would have to cancel itself out, and it would be much more of a striking matchup, kind of like Hamzat versus Gilbert
Yeah.
was. You know,
And Shemaev, he struggles to make 170. So there's a chance that, I mean, even if there was a title shot, an interim title shot, he might not even make weight. That's another factor that you have to consider. Yeah, I would love to see that one. One thing I wanted to ask you too. I mean, a lot of people before he lost to Leon, even still now, people are saying that Kamaru Usman's the greatest welterweight of all time. He surpassed George St. Pierre. I'm like, whoa, pump your brakes right there because I still think GSP's the greatest welterweight ever. What do you think about that as far as the GOAT conversation goes for 170ers?
the goat for me is still going to be GSP. He just did it for so long. Um, that being said, Kamar still could catch him. He's hot on his heels if you ask me. That I don't feel like that loss defines him. And GSP lost the belt to Matt Serra, so he definitely could regain his belt and surpass him. But for right now, it's still GSP. Even though Kamar's right there, he was dominant. He has the victories. He gets the belt back. We're talking of putting him over on GSP if you ask me.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens moving forward. You mentioned Matt Serra. I wanted to get your take on one thing real quick because when I met him years ago, I shook his hand and it was like my hand looked like a little baby's hand shaking his hand. It was like grabbing a fistful of bananas. I couldn't get over just how massive his hands were. Have you ever met anyone like in the MMA world where you shook their hand or you just couldn't believe like how large they actually were in person?
Mm, I know a big human being is definitely Fabian Schurter up in Portland. That dude's massive, just huge. His hands are massive. It's just crazy. But other than that, I can't really think of anybody. Brent Primus now is it's not like a size of the hand thing, but the dude's dexterity and um, his flexibility in his hips, his legs dexterity and his flexibility in his hips is just unreal. You take the guy down, and you think you got a clean takedown, and out of nowhere, he's not only going to his omoplata, he's usually just throwing it straight across the go-go, and without trying whatsoever. You got this foot in front of your face as before you even hit the ground. So it's kind of freakish, how well he can do that. So yeah, that would be my only thing that's kind of similar.
Okay, very good. I always wondered how he even made 155. He looked like a pretty darn big guy to me, but I've never met him in person. Let's transition to your fight with Yusaka, UFC Vegas 68, February 4th, at the Apex. Are you excited to be fighting at the Apex? Do you wish you were in a big arena with a bunch of screaming fans?
Um, I'm not gonna lie, I was excited to see Korea. I was excited to perform in front of the Korean fans. Um, it's not happening, so that sucks. But I'm fine with the Apex. I'm fine with the transition. It's still getting to fight for the UFC. It's still getting to fight on the biggest stage, and I'm excited no matter what. So, um, one of these days, I'll make it across the pond and get to see the Korean fans, or heck, even the fans in London or something. That's definitely a goal of mine, is to travel across there and perform for those folks.
Now your opponent, he's only 6-1, so there's really not a whole heck of a lot of tape to dissect on him. Have you been able to watch some film and kind of get a better understanding of what he might bring to the table?
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I've been watching quite a bit of film. Try to watch film on him every week, and just try to pick up tidbits and this and that. And he definitely seems to be um, very comfortable on his feet. That being said, he's got 6 fights, so we don't know what he's got really off his back, or what he's got for a jujitsu game or wrestling. So it is hard to kind of know. He could be keeping those things hidden, but he first and foremost, he really likes to throw those hands. He seems to be much more of a counter striker. Likes to pull and throw that 2-3. There's times that he will come forward with his two, and he likes to switch stances when he does that, and then throw the right hand right after that. So we're definitely going to try to keep him, uh, in my. I want to keep him on my time. I want to keep him at my range and on my time, and not allow him to dictate those kinds of things.
Do you feel like you hold the advantage on the feet against him?
I'm always I always feel comfortable on the feet, just from my Muay Thai background. But that being said, I pride myself on being an MMA fighter, first and foremost. So wherever the fight needs to go, whatever I gotta do to get that W, if I gotta make it dirty and just put him up against the fence, and you know, um, throw some knees to the thighs, or whatever I gotta do to get that W, that's what I'm gonna do for sure.
Ultimately, how do you see yourself getting that W?
Ultimately, it's gonna be. I want to find my range. I want to create tie-ups, and then put that pressure and that pace on him. And ultimately, he's going to give me the way to get the W. Be it from me taking him down, or be it from me throwing a combination off the break.
How active are you trying to stay in 2023? Do you want to get, as many fights in as possible, or are you trying to maybe make sure you always get a full training camp in to show that maybe the best version of yourself?
I think it just depends on a fight to fight basis. If you go in there you know and you get yourself a quick finish, this being the UFC, these are some of the best fighters in the world. These are the best fighters in the world. That's what I'm going to say. They're the best fighters in the world. Getting early finishes isn't easy to come by, and I don't think you should bank on that. But if you get if you get a not easy finish, if you get a quick finish, for sure, I turn around, I'm jumping right back in there. I don't want to. I want a long camp, but I also don't want to waste a camp. Understand what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
um, if I get a long camp and a quick finish, for sure, I want to jump back in there and go again. I'd like to try to get 4 fights in this year, just at minimum, and see how it goes.
Well, I can tell you, Adam, I'm excited to see you back in there again. UFC Vegas 68, February 4th. Pleasure interviewing you here for the first time. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Please tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anyone to thank, anything to plug, the floor is yours.
You can follow me on my Instagram. Just search Adam Fugitt, I guess. Yeah, I have a Twitter. It's not very big. It's at just Fugit. Yeah, those are my two social medias. Mostly on Instagram, I guess you could say. I like to give a shout out to all the people that support me here in town. Brad's Cottage Grove Chevrolet, Evergreen Roofing, Hot Valley, Zentopia. Those guys have all helped me out tremendously. Give a shout out to my gym, Art of War, here in Eugene. Jason Georgian, my head coach, my Muay Thai coach, Cobb Tongsai. They've been really helping me with this camp, and all my training partners, which I've kind of already mentioned. I appreciate you guys, Lucas, Brent, Ray, Nate, and Jalen. Thank you so much. And Morgan Fegan, one of my amateurs, who's been helping me out in camp as well. Basically being my drilling buddy. I really appreciate that.